This Sun In. Law, a mute. Outside the gates of Imperial College, a Mercedes E-Class sedan came to a smooth stop. A stunning young lady in a light purple dress walked towards the car. At first, a smile adorned her face, but the moment she saw the man getting out of the car, her smile froze. Leo Bloomer. Why are you here? Where's my sister? Her tone was displeased. Leo just shook his head because he couldn't speak. The young lady glanced around and then approached the car, reaching for the door. She did not want anyone to know Thather brother in law was mute. Whenever someone spoke of her mute brother in law, she felt embarrassed. Just as she was about to get into the car, a voice behind her exclaimed, "Isn't this Tina, the campus beau of Imperial College?" Tina Henley stiffened. She recognized the voice immediately. Turning around, Tina forced a smile and said, "Diana, what are you doing here? Going out for fun somewhere?" "Well, we are. But I just saw you, so I came over to say hi," Diana replied casually. But her gaze intentionally swept over Leo. "Tina, who's this guy?" "Oh, I know. He must be your family's driver." "Right," another girl asked, feigning curiosity. Tina wore an awkward smile on her face, saying, "Well, he is my brother-in-law." "I knew it," the third girl exclaimed with surprise. "He's your mute brother-in-law, isn't he?" Upon hearing this, Tina's gaze turned cold. She fell silent and got into the car, pulling the door shut. "Leo, what are you standing there and spacing out for? Let's go," Tina yelled out the window. Her good mood was now significantly affected. Leo silently got into the car amidst disdainful glances and sneers from the three girls. He silently started the car and drove away from gates of Imperial College. Tina took out her phone and dialed Sophia's number. "Assis, didn't we agree that you'd come? Pick me up. Why did Leo come instead?" "What? Something came up and you couldn't make it." "Humph. Of course. You're so busy. Never ask him to come pick me up again. I'll take a cab home myself." Tina angrily hung up the phone from the back seat, then glanced at Leo driving. The longer she looked at him, the more displeased she became. "Hey, Leo, don't think you're suffering some great injustice by marrying into our family. If it weren't for our family providing you with food and shelter, a mute, like you would, have starved to death on the streets long ago. I advise you to divorce my sister. When that time comes, our family will give you some money. You can do whatever you want with that money. Just don't show up in front of me again." "Can you hear me talking to? You, speak up." After venting, Tina suddenly sarcastically, adding, "Sorry, I forgot again. Ting, you're mute." Leo gripped the steering wheel tightly with both hands. He had endured this kind of life for 4 years already. Leo was raised by his grandmother after his parents went missing when he was 6. He put himself through college with money from his grandmother's meter retirement savings and from selling recycles from the garbage. Leo vividly remembered that on the day he graduated from college, his normally strong and healthy grandmother fell ill. The hospital's diagnosis chemically, it was malignant tumor, late stage. Watching his grandmother grow thinner by the day on the hospital bed, Leo wept bitter tears. He swore that he will do whatever it took to keep her alive for as long as possible, even if only for a year or a month. Leo began borrowing money from everyone he knew. He learned how to raise funds online, and even started begging again the busiest pedestrian streets downtown for help from kind-hearted people. Heaven has a way of helping those in dire need, and eventually, Leo gathered the money. The benefactors were a couple who not only paid for his grandmother's treatment, but also arranged for their oldest daughter to marry him. On that day, Leo felt a glimmer of hope shining into his bleak life. However, not long after the marriage, Leo realized how naive he had been. Stanley's family had helped him, and agreed the marriage only because of a superstition. They believed that marrying off their daughter would help her recover quickly from her illness. In simple terms, Leo was just a tool for them. Once the wedding ceremony was over, he lived a painful life in the Henley family. A year later, his grandmother passed away despite everything. After arranging her funeral, Leo felt that life had lost all meaning. He still remembered that stormy night when, because of a trivial matter, he was kicked out of the Henley family. Homeless, Leo wandered the streets like a lost soul, letting the rain soak him. Unknowingly, Leo found himself at a famous spot in Langsdale where couples will come to date on Valentine's Day. A Valentine. Love. To Leo, these were luxuries beyond his reach. As he stared at the rushing waters off Dragon River beneath the bridge, the thought of jumping flashed through his mind. As long as he jumped down, she will be completely liberated. Once this thought appeared, it was uncontrollable. Leo put one foot over the railing. "Young man, jumping into the river in such heavy rain is not a wise choice." A low, raspy voice reached Leo's ears. Leo turned around to find an old man with gray hair standing beside him, holding a black umbrella, and wearing a confusingly smiling expression. "I can give you a chance to change your fate. Do you want it?" The old man's voice was full of temptation. Leo didn't know if he was hallucinating, but he instinctively nodded. The old man pulled a syringe from his pocket, filled with a pale blue liquid. Leo tried to call out to him, but could only make whimpering sounds, accompanied by a tearing pain throughout his body. From the moment he became mute, Leo lived even a worse life in the Henley family. Each year, at the exact time he was injected with the blue liquid, his body would experience excruciating pain, as if thousands of ants were gnawing at him, and his head would feel like it was about to explode. After each bout of pain, Leo vaguely felt changes in his body, but he couldn't pinpoint what exactly had changed. He endured year after year, and tonight at 9 p.m. marked exactly 3 years. It would be the beginning of the new life the old man had promised. Chapter 2. Completely ending a life of humiliation. Today, Leo's heart was pounding with anticipation as he awaited that moment's arrival. The car drove into the Villa district and stopped in front of Villa No. 3. Tina hurriedly got out of the car. She really didn't want to spend another second with her cowardly mute brother-in-law. It was now 8 in the evening. After parking the car, Leo entered the villa, returned to his room, and closed the door. Leo and Sophia Henley each had their own bedroom. Although they had been married for 4 years, their marriage was in name only. They hadn't even held hands. At this moment, Leo had a strong premonition that the familiar pain would soon return, but this time it would be even more intense than before. Leo took the calendar from the table and crossed out the number 30 with a pen. Today would mark the end of his life of humiliation. Even if the old man had deceived him, he would leave the Henley family for good. A sharp pain pierced through his head. Leo quickly took off his shirt, sat cross-legged on the bed, and began to focus his mind, waiting for that moment to arrive. Meanwhile, in the downstairs hall, his mother-in-law, Jessica Henley, entered with a man about Leo's age, chatting and laughing. "Gilbert, how could you come back to Langstell without telling me earlier?" Jessica led the man to the sofa. "Have a seat. I'll make you some coffee." The man, named Gilbert Gray, Waste, son of Jessica's close friend, she wore a well-fitting casual suit, had long legs, and a handsome appearance, like the tall, attractive leading men often seen in dramas. "Aunt Jessica, you are so nice. I just graduated from abroad and came to see you and Sophia," Gilbert said, taking out a small, exquisite box and handing it to Jessica. "I didn't have time to prepare a proper gift. I hope you'll like this." "Gilbert, your mother and I are best friends. You don't need to go through such formalities." Jessica pretended to be upset. Gilbert smiled, saying, "That's why I bought gifts for both my mom and you." "You sweet child." Jessica opened the box to find a beautiful bracelet, clearly expensive. She placed the box aside and went to get Gilbert some coffee, sighing inwardly. Jessica had watched Gilbert grow up. He had always been well-behaved and smart. Initially, she had hoped to pair him with Sophia after their university graduation. However, Gilbert's decision to study abroad had delayed those plans. Soon after he went abroad, Tina fell ill with a rare disease. With both domestic and international hospitals helpless, Jessica, who was somewhat superstitious, turned to a fortune teller for help. The fortune teller advised her to arrange a marriage between Sophia and a young man of humble origin to cure Tina's illness. Miraculously, after the marriage, Sophia's illness vanished. However, Jessica didn't credit Leo for her daughter's recovery. To her, Leo, an orphan, was just a tool. If it weren't for the complications of property division in a divorce, Jessica would have kicked him out long ago. And to make matters worse, Leo had lost his voice 3 years ago. Thinking of her mute son-in-law and comparing him to Gilbert, Jessica felt a surge of irritation. "By the way, Aunt Jessica, isn't Sophia back yet?" Gilbert looked around casually and asked. Jessica placed a cup of coffee in front of Gilbert and replied, "She's busy with work and might not be home until 10. I heard Sophia got married while I was abroad. Is her husband at home?" Gilbert inquired. A look of disgust crossed Jessica's face as she pointed to the second floor, saying, "That lazy good for nothing's he'll be upstairs, though who knows what he's doing." A faint, almost imperceptible smirk appeared on Gilbert's face. "Where does Sophia's husband work?" Hearing this question, Jessica's anger flared up. Exacerbated by her menopausal mood swings, she yelled upstairs, "Leo, we have a guest. Why aren't you coming down? Are you avoiding people?" Upon hearing her words, Gilbert secretly thought that things seemed exactly like what he had heard. In fact, before coming, I had already heard that Sophia had married a useless man. This man spent his days lounging at home, living off a woman, and never working. Oh, it also would not be easy for a mute like him to find a job anyway. He was indeed living worse than a house pet. It was almost 9 o'clock, and Leo's symptoms were becoming more evident. Despite hearing Jessica's calls, he couldn't leave his room. Jessica, hearing no response from upstairs, shouted again, "Tina, your sweetheart Gilbert is here. Hurry down." Tina's door was opened, and she glanced downstairs, displeased. "Mom, why are you yelling? Gilbert's here, so what? Why make a fuss?" Tina disliked Leo. and disliked Gilbert even more. Her intuition told her that Gilbert was a scheming individual and not a good person. Tina, how can you talk to your mother like that? Jessica's anger flared again. Gilbert quickly interjected, saying to Jessica, please don't be angry. It's not worth upsetting yourself. Sophia's husband might not be home. Using a bit of reverse psychology, Gilbert was eager to meet Thynephilus live in son-in-law. As expected, Jessica couldn't hold back her anger at hearing this, and urged by asking, Tina, is Leo back? Yes, he came home with me. Go call him down, Jessica ordered. Fine, Tina replied impatiently and headed to Leo's room. Tina felt her cowardly brother-in-law was getting more outrageous. As soon as he got home, he locked himself in his room, acting like was some sort of master. Just as Tina reached to knock, a scream of agony came from Leo's room. A scream of utter pain. This scream didn't frighten Tina. She sighed helplessly and shook her head, saying, oh, he's having another episode again. The Henley family members had grown used to this. Similar incidents had occurred in the past 2 years, and no one had bothered to take Leto to a hospital, to the Henley family. It would be best if Leo died. But Tina still pushed the door open and saw a scene she would never forget. After a brief moment of shock, Tina let out a terrified scream and fled. On the bed, there was a human-like figure, as if it had just been pulled out of tar, covered in a layer of black goo, with only a pair of bright black eyes showing any sign of life. No wonder Tina was frightened. Chapter 3. The mysterious power within Tina. What's wrong? Jessica downstairs heard Tina scream, and thought Leo was bullying her. She rushed upstairs immediately. Oh no. Leo rasped out unconsciously. Summoning the last bit of his strength, Leo crawled off the bed, locked the door, and dashed into the bathroom. As the hot water streamed over him, Leo felt an immense sense of relief. The old man hadn't lied. Not only could he speak again, but he also discovered a mysterious energy within him, a forte he could seemingly use for anything. Besides, Leo noticed that his mind was suddenly filled with knowledge about traditional medicine. Jessica had already reached its second floor. Seeing Tina's panicked face, her heart sank, and she asked, Tina, did Leo bully you? Mom, Leo, she. Remembering what had just witnessed, Tina stammered. What happened to him? Jessica asked, fearing Leo might have died from a relapse. He's a monster, Tina responded, as she finally found a fitting description. A monster. Jessica was stunned. Jessica walked to Leo's bedroom door and tried the handle, but it was locked. He actually dared to lock the door from the inside. Jessica was infuriated, banged on it furiously, yelling, Leo, what are you doing in there? Open the door. Just a moment. I'm showering. Leo's voice came from inside. Huh, who does he think he is? Jessica muttered, then suddenly realized something, and added, Leo, did you just speak? There was no response from the bedroom. Jessica hurried to Tina, exclaiming, Tina, did you hear that? Leo spoke. Mom, let's just go downstairs and wait for him to come out, Tina suggested, still shaken by what she had seen. Downstairs, Gilbert approached its thumb, asking, is Leo not coming out? He ignored even your words. That's just too much. Jessica frowned, understanding Gilbert's implication, and replied, we'll wait for him to come out. I want to see what he's up to. Gilbert sneered inwardly. A loser like Leo utterly was unworthy of Sophia. Before long, Leo came down the stairs. He had changed into clean clothes, and his hair was still damp. Tina jumped up from the sofa, pointing at Leo and stammering, Leo, your body. Leo casually sat on the other side of the sofa and poured himself a glass of water. Leo, stand up, Jessica demanded. Leo stood up obediently, looking innocently at Jessica. Jessica couldn't stand his expression, shouting angrily, Leo, stop pretending. You've been faking it for 3 years. Aren't you tired? Speak up. Mom. Leo's face showed a slight smile as he uttered the word. This left Tina and Gilbert dumbfounded. The mute could talk. Had he been pretending all along? Leo Bloomer, you are no longer mute. Tina's face was full of disgust, adding, you fraud, faking being mute. If you didn't want to talk to us, then keep pretending for life. Though she was furious, Tina noticed something different about Leo. She used to hunch, but today he stood straight, and his once frail Framino exuded a sense of power. It felt bizarre. To Gilbert, Leo's demeanor seemed like an act, prompting him to sneer. You must be Leo, just as pathetic as I imagined. He then turned to Jessica, adding, Aunt Jessica, this kind of person can't bring Sophia happiness. His very existence harms her. Don't you agree? Jessica remained silent, although she agreed inwardly. However, it was a family matter for the Henleys, not something for an outsider to judge. Seeing Jessica's silence, Gilbert grew bolder, stepping directly in front of Leo, looking down at him with disdain, and continued speaking. Do you find it fulfilling to live on the Henley family? If you truly care about Sophia, you should leave her. Leo clenched his fist, as if watching a clown perform. If you leave Sophia, I can find you a decent job and give you $200,000. How about that? Gilbert laid out his offer. After making the offer, Gilbert stepped back, ready for a fight. He expected any man provoked like this would hit him, giving Gilbert a Ria Santo beat him up. After all, Gilbert had a black belt in Taekwondo. To Gilbert's disappointment, Leo just stared at him, with an expression of indifference. Gilbert felt unnerved by Leo's gaze, stepping forward and grabbing Leo's collar, and exclaimed, "What are you staring at, you useless freeloader?" Leo continued to look at him indifferently. This completely enraged Gilbert. He swung his other hand towards Leo's face. Jessica didn't intervene, allowing it to happen as an onlooker. The next moment, Gilbert's fist stopped in midair, inches from Leo's cheek. Leo's hand had grabbed Gilbert's wrist with precision. Gilbert struggled but couldn't break free, feeling the pain in his wrist, and yelled, "Let go of me, you worthless piece of trash." "Worthless," Leo repeated, mocking himself. At this, Gilbert released Leo's collar and threw a punch towards Leo's head, but Leo was faster. His other hand seized Gilbert's throat. The choking sensation rendered Gilbert motionless. Let go of me," Gilbert managed to gasp out, terrified by the force on his neck. Leo looked coldly at Gilbert, saying, "Who do you think you are, daring to meddle here?" "Leo, stop it." Jessica, fearing Leo might kill Gilbert, yelled urgently. Leo turned to Jessica, sneering coldly. "Jessica, when Gilbert was hitting Leo, why didn't you stop him?" Leo casually tossed Gilbert aside like garbage. At that moment, Jessica's phone rang. She glanced at the caller ID and answered it. "What? Something happened." "Sophia's company," Jessica cried out anxiously. Everyone was stunned by this news. Chapter 4. Leo's responsibility: try to keep situation under control. "I'll better right away." Jessica hung up the phone and immediately barked orders at Leo. "Leo, get the car out and take me to Sophia's company." "Aunt Jessica, what's wrong with Sophia?" Gilbert got up from the floor, cast a hostile glance at Leo, then showed a concerned expression. "I'm not sure, but something seems to have happened." Jessica, seeing Leo standing still, shouted, "Are you stupid? Move." Without a word, Leo left the villa's main hall to get the car. As the group came outside, Gilbert reassured Jessica. "Hey Aunt Jessica, don't worry. I know some big shots in the city. If anyone dares to cause trouble at Sophia's company, I'll teach them a lesson." Hearing this, Jessica felt slightly relieved. By this time, Leo had already parked the car in front of them. Sophia's cosmetics company was located in the bustling Golden Leaf shopping plaza downtown. About half an hour later, the four arrived at the company's entrance. A large crowd had gathered outside, craning their necks to peer inside. From the lobby, a woman's angry voice could be heard. "No explanations, just look at my face. Since I used your cosmetics, it turned into this. You unscrupulous merchant dare sell substandard products." The angry woman, around 40 years old, wore loose casual clothing. Her once pretty face was now covered in dreadful rashes. Sophia, dressed in a white professional outfit, stood in front of her, looking a bit helpless. "Ma'am, this product is imported, and there should be no problem with it. We can have it tested at any authoritative institution in Langston." "Test my foot. The evidence is right here. If you don't fix my face, I'll bankrupt your companion, make sure you rot in jail." "Ma'am, why don't we go to the hospital first?" Sophia suggested. After all, the woman indeed held one of their products, and her attire and demeanor suggested she wasn't there just to extort money. Thus, Sophia couldn't be too forceful. Just then, Jessica and her group squeezed in. "Mom, why are you here?" Sophia asked, surprised. "How could I not come when such a big issue happened? What's going on?" Seeing the horrible rash on the woman's face, Jessica knew this would be tough to handle. Sophia briefly explained the situation. The woman had bought a bottle of moisturizer here yesterday, and after using it this morning, her face broke out in rashes. She then came back to complain. "Ma'am, please calm down, since this has happened. The important thing is to find a solution. Don't you agree?" Jessica said politely. The woman sneered, retorting, "Solve it, fine, since your daughter's cosmetics ruined my face. Let's disfigure her face and compensate me $30 million, and I'll drop it." $30 million, Jessica gasped. The woman was making an outrageous demand. Gilbert stepped forward, saying, Maya, let's be reasonable. This product isn't sold only to you. Others have no issues using it, so it's not the product's fault." "You brat, are you saying I'm here to extort you?" The woman glared at Gilbert. Gilbert instinctively stepped back but tried to stay calm. "That's not what I mean. How about this? I know the director at Langston Plastic Surgery Hospital. Come with me, and I guarantee they'll restore your face." "You're saying I need plastic surgery?" The woman hurled the moisturizer at Gilbert. Get lost. Hey, how can you use violence? Gilbert shouted, now angry. If you keep this up, I'll call the police. Police, you are funny. The woman laughed as if hearing the funniest joke. Do you know who I am? Who are you? Gilbert asked, looking her up and down. The richest man in Langstell is my brother. What? Gilbert was dumbfounded and didn't dare speak again. Jessica and Sophia were also stunned. How had they offended such a big shot? What should they do now? Maya, please calm down. If I can make the rashes on your face disappear, can we consider this matter settled? A man's voice suddenly interrupted the tense standoff. Everyone looked to see who Doretto make such a bold statement. Sophia saw that it was Leo who had come along and was surprised. She wasn't astonished by Leo standing up, but rather by the fact that he suddenly spoke. Just as she was about to ask why Leo was no longer mute, Jessica shouted, Leo, shut up, this isn't your business. Jessica didn't want her worthless in law to make things worse. Leo, who knew you could treat rashes? Tell us, how did a freeloading loser like you learn such a skill? Gilbert spoke, quickly seizing chance to belittle Leo. Gilbert, Jessica frowned and said, Gilbert's hold have picked a better time to mock Leo. Leo, stay out of this. We are handling it. Don't interfere, Tina said, waving Leo away in annoyance. Leo ignored their remarks and walked directly to the woman. I can really help with your face, trust me. Looking into Leo's sincere eyes, the woman wavered a bit. Money wasn't the issue, her face was. Sophia quickly pulled him aside, using a commanding tone. Leo, don't interfere. I'll handle my own problem. Sophia wasn't grateful for Leo's intervention. She knew his capabilities all too well. The unfolding events in the lobby to whispers among the crowd. That guy is impressive, living off the female CEO of the cosmetics campaign. Well, he just claimed he could cure that woman's rashes. Do you think he's for real? Not a chance. If he could have that, he wouldn't have an infamous reputation. Exactly. I think he's just putting on a show. The murmuring made the woman even more impatient. I don't care about your family drama. Now you have two choices. Either restore my face to its original state, or pay me $30 million in damage, and let me disfigure this woman. The woman pointed at Sophia. Otherwise, it's like I said, your company will go bankrupt, and you'll end up in jail. Chapter 5. Astonishing medical skills. Ma'am, can we negotiate again? Jessica's face had turned pale. No room for discussion. The woman glanced at her watch and said, my time is precious. You have 3 more minutes to decide. Sophia, we've been married for 4 years. Don't you trust me even a little? Leo's voice cut through surrounding murmurs. Sophia was stunned, incredulously looking at Leo. Leo dared to talk to her like that. This was unprecedented. Had this guy suddenly become so confident just by opening his mouth? Jessica hurriedly scolded. Leo, this is not your place to speak. Get out. Yeah, Jessica, I think we can let them try. He just needs to swear in front of everyone that, if the treatment goes wrong, it has nothing to do with the Henley family. He alone will bear all the consequences. Gilbert made a suggestion that was notably malicious. Well, Jessica suddenly felt that Gilbert's suggestion seemed feasible. Leo cast a cold glance at Gilbert, then turned to the woman and said, Maya, if I can't cure the rash on your face, I am willing to take any responsibility. This matter is my personal act, and has nothing to do with Henley family or this company. Feeling the strange energy within his body, and the vast knowledge of traditional medicine in his mind, Leo was full of confidence. Gilbert sneered inwardly. Leo actually wanted to mess with him. She was still too green, and he had fallen into his trap. A useless man like Leo could treat a disease. This seemed like a complete fantasy to Gilbert. Hearing Leo's words, Sophia felt somewhat turned. Although her marriage to Leo was essentially a transaction, the Henley family had indeed been too harsh on Leo. Over these 4 years, despite this, Leo was still willing to help her. Alright, I'll let you treat it. I hope you can cure my face. Otherwise, you'll bear the consequences. The woman made a decision. The woman's name was Venus Toby, the younger sister of Harry Toby, the richest man in Langstell. She had flown from the northern part of Langstell the day before yesterday to visit her sick father. After seeing her father in the hospital yesterday, Venus had bought a bottle of moisturizing cream from Sophia's cosmetics campaign. After using it this morning, her face had broken out in many rashes, leading her to come here. Leo nodded, looked at Venus, and said, please take a seat and wait for a moment. I'll go buy some traditional medicine and be back soon. Sophia was already at a lace and did not stop Leo. Gilbert seized the opportunity to mock Leo, saying, is this freeloader planning to run away? Shut up. Sophia couldn't help but yell at Gilbert. No matter how useless Leo was, he was still her husband legally. She could scold him. Outsiders absolutely couldn't. Gilbert pouted and said no more. He wanted to see if Leo would come back. Mom, do you think Leo has run away, Tina? Asked Jessica in a low voice. Wait and see. Jessica replied irritably. Although she had little hope for this loser son-in-law, the situation had reached this point, and they could only wait and see. To Gilbert's disappointment, about minutes later, Leo returned with a medicine bag in his hand. Fortunately, there was a traditional medicine pharmacy not far from Tebuta. Leo walked to the counter, opened the medicine bag, revealing powdered herbs already mixed together. He then found a plastic box in Theship, filled it halfway with warm water, poured all the powdered medicine into the box, and started stirring it with his right index finger. As he stirred, Leo channeled a mysterious energy from within his body through his finger into the box. Soon, the water-mixed medicine turned into a paste. Leo picked up the box and said to Venus, "Maya, please lie down on Theophis' chair here. I need to apply the medicine to your face." Venus, half convinced, walked over to the office chair and sat down, nervously saying, "Young man, don't deceive me. If you ruin my face, I'll ruin your life." Leo was full of confidence, replying, "Don't worry. After applying the medicine, the rash on your face will disappear completely in no more than 5 minutes. Using some water and medicine to cure a rash. This is the first time I've heard of such a thing in my entire life. Leo, stop being so ridiculous. If you're going to deceive people, at least be professional about it." Gilbert couldn't help but sneer. Leo turned his head to look at Gilbert, his gaze cold, and said, "Gilbert, if you say another word, I'll throw you out of here." Hearing this, Gilbert's neck tightened as he recalled the powerful grip Leo had shown earlier in the Henley family villa. He could only mutter softly, "Well, let's see what magical effect your concoction has."